All right, it is September 17th, 2024, Tuesday at 7 p.m. We will call the City Council regular meeting to order. Would everyone please rise for the invocation given by Dan Zandard, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Most gracious God, I ask you to be with us and for this meeting tonight, business meeting. We pray, O Lord, to our council meeting and our council members. And Lord, we just wanted to pray for Harvey for his time. He is not feeling so well. He's here tonight. So just please be with him and guide him and protect him so he gets back regular time. Just be with him and so he can get rid of his sickness. Please do so, Lord. And also, we just wanted to get this meeting smooth and possible. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, everyone. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Baker?
Here.
Councilmember Curley?
Here.
Councilmember DeMonico?
Here.
Mayor Kleinfeld?
Here.
Councilmember Shadlick?
Yes.
All right, moving on to approval of the agenda. Go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, I was going to say if we could approve the agenda, but with the amendment of removing new business E, because I don't believe that city council approval is required for the adult refreshments for the AC/DC event. They can go forward without council approval.
All right, is there support?
I'm going to support that.
All right, motion to approve the agenda with the removal of item E under new business. Please call the roll.
Councilmember DeMonico?
Yes.
Councilmember Curley?
Yes.
Mayor Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Councilmember Shadlick?
Yes.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
All right, we'll move on to the first hearing of the public. The first hearing of the public is now open. Would anyone wish to be heard?
Good evening, Mayor Kleinfeld, council members, Gary Sasek, Eastpointe resident, also chairman of the Parks Commission. And I'm here tonight kind of to put out a plea to the community to get involved with the different boards and commissions. As many of us are aware, there's many boards and commissions that have vacancies. And since we serve as advisory groups to the council, we need to have members. Just last week, I became aware that I'm now going to have a fourth vacancy coming up, which means that if that person can't attend on any given evening, then we're not going to have a quorum and we're not going to be able to conduct any business. So I'm putting a plea out to the community and anybody that's in the audience tonight. It only takes 1 or 2 meetings a month. Give some time back to your community that's serving us, and it's time to just do something back to them. And I'd also like the city manager to possibly put out on the different Facebook pages for the community what commissions have vacancies so that people could again see. I'm pretty sure it's on the actual city webpage, but I think we need to put it out on Facebook where more people would possibly see it. And I'm hoping that we can start getting people active again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Cindy Federle, longtime Eastpointe resident. I'd first of all like to thank Harvey Curley and Sarah Lucido for attending the First Amendment party in the park on September the 6th. I'd also like to express my disappointment in our city for not supporting this event in any way. There was no mention or acknowledgement from council or the city manager. This should have been in the city newsletter and Facebook pages. The agenda clearly violated the First Amendment, and the city attorney and council persons should have known this. I feel the city and its representatives are disregarding this significant achievement and did a disservice to your constituents by not supporting this event. I hope you have a change of heart for future September 6th First Amendment celebrations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council. Mary Hall Rayford, Eastpointe. She said what I was going to say. But I do want to emphasize the fact that we think it's important that as many residents as possible get involved in what's going on in the city. And sometimes that's the only way that happens, is that if the city is promoting it as diligently as some of the rest of us were. It was a really nice event. The weather was good. The food was terrific. And they had purchased quite a number of activities for kids. And we had deliberately planned this for after school, and unfortunately, we didn't have that many kids there. So those activities have been donated to a community center for future use. But something like that, it kind of says something about the city that may or may not be true. Because it would have been nice if people had come out to meet the team that helped to get this all done. I hope in the future that we'll at least have an acknowledgement on September 6th or whatever day that falls on that's not a weekend, because it's important that people understand their rights, especially in the political environment where people are trying to trample on the rights of every individual. And if you don't know that that's happening, you need to pay attention to what's going on around you, not just locally, but nationally. I don't want to say this country is in a rut, but we could be in trouble if people don't start paying attention and exercise their right to vote while they have an opportunity to do so. Thank you.
Thank you.
Karen Morajan, I echo the sentiments of my co-plaintiffs, and also Congress has recognized September 17th as Constitution Day. So while we still have a Constitution, it is imperative everybody gets out and votes so that we still have a Constitution. Otherwise, we say goodbye to democracy, and unfortunately, it would be replaced with just a horrific autocracy. We don't want that. Shifting gears, there is, I gotta mention the animals. This is through Macomb County Animal Shelter. Believe me, if I knew our animal control was doing something like this, I would wholeheartedly support it, but I'm not aware of that. It's a free pet vaccine clinic, September 21st, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. It's at the Robert A., if I'm pronouncing this right, Verkellen Building, 21855 Dunham Road, Clinton Township, Michigan. I'm sure you could just go to the Macomb County Animal Control website to find out more information. So it's really important, to get the animals vaccinated. And shifting gears once again, I'm a pretty staunch advocate for both the animals and for social justice. And I've seen far too much injustice throughout my life. That's what strengthens my advocacy and keeps me going in the fight against injustice. And it's all over, which is really a sad statement to make. We've got a lot of problems here in the city, and it seems like the major focus is on 9 Mile and bringing in a business that's being sued by the EEOC. And there's just not enough attention in regards to what's going on in the neighborhoods. We've got sections of Eastpointe that is absolutely horrific. You have tenants who just have no regard for the law or the ordinances. They're repeat offenders. And I understand one of my friends shared that there's a big problem with kids kicking in doors. I just went through that myself, but I caught the little punk yesterday. So that's being investigated, and that's a lot of money that is going to be shelled out to replace my door. So the city needs to do
Your time is-
better.
Thank you. All right, anyone else?
Hi, everybody. My name's Nolan Lesky, and I bought my house here 3 years ago. And kind of along those lines of animals and community awareness, my thing is I've got rats like crazy, and I'm just wondering like what we can do about that. Is that like a city thing, or, because I trap them and I've been killing them, but it's like there's no end, and I keep a pretty clean yard. I just don't know what to do.
Okay, we can't respond right now, but if you stick around, we can comment on that.
Okay.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to be heard? Anyone else? Seeing none, the first hearing of the public is closed. We'll move on to approval of the minutes, regular meeting minutes for September 3rd, 2024.
Mr. Mayor, I would move to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of September 3rd, 2024.
Councilman Curley, I'll second that.
Yeah.
If we can just add one tiny little change, there was one vote that only listed 4 out of 5 council members, so if we
That's
just,
not very good.
yeah, we're just missing the mayor on one of them. So if we can just amend it to fix that vote, it was, I think the approval of the minutes. Yeah, let me just double check. Yeah, the approval of the agenda. Yep, the approval of the agenda. So if we can amend it to just add Mayor Kleinfeld in the vote for the approval of the agenda, then I'll second it.
So amended.
All right.
Well, thank you. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Curley,
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico,
Yes.
Mayor Kleinfeld,
Yes.
Councilmember Shadlick,
Yes.
Councilmember Baker,
Yes.
All right, we have no scheduled hearings, so we'll move on to unfinished business, award of the catch basin repair program contract. Would anyone like to open up or make a motion?
Sure, Mr. Mayor, I'll open up since I asked for this to be back on the agenda. So back in January, we had this business on the agenda, Great Lakes Contracting Solutions. And at that point, we had awarded them a contract, and then a resident came forward and mentioned that they were involved in essentially involved in bribery previously. And so I went on a little deep dive here and looked into it because Mr. Lameau coming forward and letting us know about that. And so I was just proposing today that we approve this bid with the Luigi Ferdinandi Company because the company Great Lakes Contracting Solutions, in the Detroit News here, they reported that the current owner of that company back in 2017, the company at the time paid for flights to Las Vegas with the Mayor Rick Solers of Taylor, and the current owner of the company in March 2017 went to Vegas and they paid for the flights. I just think that the city should not be, should have higher ethical standards and should just not work with a company like that. And that's why I proposed that we award this bid to the Luigi Ferdinandi Company.
All right, did you want to make a motion?
Sure, Mr. Mayor, yeah, I could make a motion. Let me get in my packet here. I'd move that we award the catch basin repair program contract to Luigi Ferdinandi for fiscal years 2024 through 2025, 2025 to 2026, and 2026 to 2027.
Is there support?
Support.
Did anyone else want to speak on this?
Yeah, just a question. Do we need the total amount within the motion, what the bid is?
I'd be happy to include that, Councilman Curley. The amounts that Luigi Ferdinandi and Son Cement Company Incorporated, the amounts that they bid were for that first year, $255,704.71. The second year, $263,374.26. And the third year, $271,277.10. And actually have that also include the 10% contingency.
Oh, thank you.
Is it still supported?
Yes, it's still supported.
Okay.
I was a little surprised that this came to us with Great Lakes considering the circumstances.
All right, any other comments on this?
I have a question, based off of previous action, and this is directed to Rich. Do you have any, do you see any problems with us now offering this contract to the second company? Do you see any potential problems for us as a city going in that direction?
No, the bid documents do include language that allows the city to go with somebody other than the lowest bidder if it finds after, and this I'm quoting the language from the bidding documents, after reasonable inquiry and evaluation to not be responsible. If the majority of the council members believe that to be the case in this matter, then yes, this would be acceptable.
Okay, thank you. And I guess I would just state, I don't want to speak on behalf of everyone, but my position is not saying that anybody is particularly guilty of something, because I'm not the courts, I'm not the person that's trying the case, and this is just based off of the findings of what was reported. And so I believe the attempt here is to avoid the appearance of any impropriety or doing business with someone who may have potentially been involved in some impropriety. So we're not accusing, we're just trying to play it safe. So that's all I have.
All right. Please call the roll.
Councilmember DeMonico,
Yes.
Councilmember Shadlick,
Yes.
Councilmember Baker,
Yes.
Councilmember Curley.
Yes.
Mayor Kleinfeld.
Yes. And we'll move on to reports from administration. We'll start with the city manager, Ms. Mariah Walton.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'd start off with Chamber of Commerce. They've announced the Salute to Excellence Dinner on October 3rd at 5:30. If you're interested in attending, the Chamber has tickets. That's usually an incredible event, and it also honors some of our members in public safety and the service that they've had in the past year. So come out and join us for that incredible event and celebrating our Officer of the Year and Firefighter of the Year. Also highlighting businesses that have invested in their property, new businesses within the community, so it's an all-around great event from the Chamber. The PD Court Building Committee meeting is scheduled, the second meeting is scheduled for September 20th at 1 p.m. That's this Friday at 1 p.m. If you're interested in the development of that building, please join us. It'll be here in council chambers. You are able to register to vote. Our election is coming up on November 5th. You can register online, in person, or by mail. So if you're interested, stop in, see our incredible clerks in the clerk's office, and they'll help you out in getting you registered. Just to echo Mr. Sasek, we do have several board and commission positions available. We have applications online as well as in our office. So if you're interested or have questions about boards and commissions, please let us know. We also have shared on social media. And if you have any questions specific to a board or commission, what they're involved in or previous projects, please feel free to reach out at any point. And we can also connect you with the liaison, the staff liaison that we have, and as well as the council liaison on that board or commission for additional questions. And I'd also like to welcome Officer Rybinski to the police department. We had his swearing in last week, Monday, and our second animal control officer, Sanchez, has also joined us. And so we're excited to have a full animal control team to continue moving our efforts forward. And we thank council for their commitment to animal control and having a second animal control officer. And then to address Mr. Lesky from Hearing of the Public, if you can provide your address to Ms. Holman, we can ensure that the building department reviews your neighborhood and can address anyone in the area that may have some things that are leading to rat harborage, and we can let you know and follow up on that. With that, Mayor and Council, if there are any questions, I can certainly answer those.
Any questions? I meant to respond to your email. I will be attending the Salute to Excellence, so do you normally RSVP for? Okay. All right, we'll move on to Finance Director's report. Mr. Blum.
Yes, Mayor and Council. First of all, the audit began yesterday, 2 weeks earlier than I'm accustomed to, so it's been a bit of a crunch. But I want to highlight that there is, when we go into closed session, they're using the conference room, so there is some computer equipment and some documents sitting there. So just try not to disturb them while we're in there. Nothing you can't look at, but just don't mess up their work. The other thing is we had our healthcare premium meeting last week. Yeah, last Thursday. With the Inflation Reduction Act, Congress put through a limit on retiree prescription drug cost at $2,000 per retiree. That did not actually reduce the cost of prescription drugs, it just shifted who pays for it. They also reduced how much federal subsidy goes into Medicare Advantage. Again, they didn't reduce anything, they just shifted who's going to pay for it, which is us on retiree health care. The retiree health care Medicare Advantage, one policy is going to go up 31.2% starting January 1st, and another policy, which fortunately only has 3 people on it, is going up 74.3%. And that is all, or not all, but the majority, all but about 5% of that is directly related to the changes out of Washington. I'll get more precise numbers because there will need to be a budget amendment related to that, but right now my estimate is between $300,000 and $400,000 a year increase to the city. So just be prepared when I get some final numbers on that. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Blum? All right, we'll move on to the City Attorney's report. Mr. Albright.
Thank you, Mayor, members, and council. Back on August 20th, the council considered a special events ordinance, and the council had certain changes that they wanted to see reflected in that. I've had an opportunity to meet with city administration, and I've incorporated those changes and also included a list of exceptions. That proposed ordinance was circulated last week. I do have copies for the council if they need to refer to it tonight. I'm just looking for a little guidance. Is the council comfortable with the proposal for first reading at the next meeting? Or do you want, is there additional revisions or additions you'd like to see in that?
I was comfortable with that.
Okay. All right, I'll make sure it's on for first reading at the next council meeting. And that's all I had, Mr. Mayor.
All right, any questions for Mr. Albright?
No?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to new business, item A, approve recommendation for special land use 17850 9 Mile Road.
Mr. Mayor, I'll move we approve the proposed special land use for a retail-only smoke shop and convenience store at 17850 9 Mile Road. Parcel included here in the packet based on the findings of fact in the planner's review letter dated August 30, 2024, with the conditions that the applicant must close before midnight. Add a note on the site plan specifying their process for verifying the age of customers purchasing tobacco products, and that the business license will be revoked if the applicant sells tobacco or nicotine products to persons under 21 years old.
Support.
All right, did any council members have any comments on this one?
I did. I attended the Planning Commission meeting, and Ms. Ahmed is here, I see. And she answered several of our questions and was very thorough about things. So we were very impressed with her presentation, and planning recommended it.
All right, does anyone on council have questions?
No, that's all I was going to say, actually, that the applicant was present because I happened to just talk to them before, before the meeting.
All right, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeMonico?
Yes.
Councilmember Shadlick?
Yes.
Councilmember Baker?
I will abstain from this just because there was community work that I did that focused on prevention, and I don't want to have contradictory points of view. So it's not necessarily anything against the applicant, but just because of my work and things that I was doing, I don't want to go against that and send conflicting messages. So I will abstain from that.
Councilmember Curley.
Yes.
Mayor Kleinfeld.
Yes. All right, thank you. Item B, discussion on field inspection fees in approved assessing services contract. I know, Mr. DeMonico, you requested this be put on the agenda. Do you want to speak to it?
Sure, I could, yes, speak briefly. I guess if we can ask a few questions of Assessment Administration Services, that would be good. I just wanted to clarify some things we had on the agenda. Let me just pull up the bid tabulation sheet. You know, we had a year one, year two, year three total, and then a separate line item essentially for all field visits in those 3 years. And I guess I just wanted to clarify and ask a few questions about that because I guess my first question, I'll jump right in. I had assumed that field visits, I guess, had been previously included, and now I guess I'm trying to figure out how it looks like it's generally the increase for each year that you've done in the past, but then now we've added 100,000 per year on top of that. So I guess if we could talk about the field visits we've done so far, and I guess what the proposal is in the future, I guess that'd be a good start.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Bill Griffin. I'm a principal at Assessment Administration Services. The bid proposal requested a actual 3-year review of every parcel, physically look at every parcel. In my conversations, we've had a great working relationship with Mariah and Randy and Kim, and I spoke to them, and we've averaged about 850 inspections, either through the internet or through actual permits a year. Your database, in my opinion, is in fantastic shape. Every audit we've had with the state, it's been 100%. The last audit, the state didn't go out and look at the actual physical parcels to see how the database was, but prior it always did, and we always passed with flying colors. So in my discussions with the staff, and we're going to work with you guys because that's, you know, you guys are a great community. We've got a long-term relationship with you. I mentioned that I think we should do, and we'll do this, is do a neighborhood review. We'll do a sample in each ECF neighborhood in the city to see if we need actual physical inspections. Because I don't think we do. I think the database is in good shape because we've been here for 10 years and we've been doing the inspections. If that's the case, we'll come up with an actual chart that shows if there's any neighborhoods that need attention, if no neighborhoods need attention. And we don't have to go out and do physical inspections over a 3-year period. The cost is expensive because it's a 3-year period, it's 5,000 parcels. That's going to require a assessing staff of at least 6 people every day in the good months from spring to fall. Hopefully you don't get too much rain to try to accomplish that. If the administration wants to go a little bit longer, we can do that. We've got the staff, we've always had extra staff in here anyway, and try to do it without any increases in it. But to try to do it quickly, it would be very expensive. Because it's very labor intensive. But I'd like to do the review, and I spoke with Randy and Kim about that in our meeting. I would like to do a review by ECF neighborhood to see if we actually need a physical inspection. Some communities you have that, but this community, we don't have a lot of new homes. Most of the stuff is, they buy the homes, they refurbish the interiors, but you don't get a lot of additions or anything like that without us knowing about it. I don't think we're going to find any big differences. We review every sale that happens and every listing, so we adjust the effective age because with the Matthew Gast Act, if someone puts new windows in their house or puts a new roof on their house, you can't raise their assessment for that. That's just maintaining their home. and we treat all the homes as if they're in average condition for their age. So we're not going to penalize somebody for their new roof or give someone a break if they got holes in their roof. I really don't think we have a database problem. I think to go out and do a physical inspection over the next 3 years of everyone might be overkill. But I'm willing to take our staff and do the survey by each ECF neighborhood to make sure that we don't have any issues. I don't think we do, because we've always scored 100% on the state audits. If we do, we'll correct them. And if it comes down to, for some reason, we do need to do it, then we can extend it and not have that increase. Because I'm going to have to bring in 6 new staffers to do 5,000 parcels a year. That's a lot. That's a lot of parcels to visit and all the back end work that comes along with it. But we're more than willing to work with the city. I don't expect that those $100,000 a year for the basically reappraisal to even happen, because I just don't think we're going to have that problem.
Quick question, I guess. So I thought from what I understand is that you're supposed to reassess every property like once every 5 years, essentially, like do 20% of the community.
The state is always recommended. It's not a, they don't require that you try to review up to 20%. We've averaged about 850. Obviously, when COVID came along, no one was going out and visiting anything because that slowed everything down. We're starting to get back into it, but we do a lot of it online. We do a lot of it with GIS, and we do obviously all the permits we go out and look at, because people expect you. But the state's always recommended that. Give you an example, the state in 2014 had another recommendation to try to do that. And the state always in their audits went out and reviewed parcels to make sure, and they don't even do that anymore. They don't go out and look at parcels because it's very labor intensive and it's very expensive.
But the 20% recommendation though was for in person, like field inspections though, right? Because
No.
we reassess every property every year.
Yeah, the 20% is to review all your record cards. You could do it online through Zillow, you could do it by GIS, you could do it field inspections. It's a combination of everything. They like you to do up to 20%. Sometimes in some communities we get to that, sometimes we don't. Obviously, a lot of that depends on the weather.
Right, but I guess I'm saying every property's assessment changes every year, right? It's not once every 5 years that my assessment changes.
Right.
So the 20% is for like field. I mean, how do we do? I see we have a couple notes, but then how do you do an online?
Well, for instance, anytime we get a listing or a sale, we have access to MLS, but also Zillow works great. You go on there. Even if we were to go out and physically go to the house, you're not going to get into them. But you will look at Zillow, you'll know if they added a bathroom or if they finished the basement, and you can address that with a field inspection if you need to, or just you've got the information. Because usually they're trying to create a rental house or something to that effect, and you get that information. And we'll address that on the record card and keep the record cards up without knocking on someone's door and asking you that. We're not going to try to go in their house. The state doesn't even recommend that. That's part of the review every year. This community is the type of community that gets a lot of people putting additions on their house and building garages without a permit. We don't run into that in this community. And we have done reviews for the last 10 years. And I'm confident that the database is in really good shape here. Some of the rural communities you'll get, because they're not required to pull permits. We run into farm buildings and, pole barns being built and stuff like that, some decks, but we don't run into a lot of that here. But we have reviewed, we average about, it was more than that prior to COVID, but we average about 850 reviews a year. And your database is in really good shape. And I'm more than willing to review and do a spot check on each one. I highly recommend that, because I think if we do this, like a 2% spot check at each ECF neighborhood, we'll know if there's any issues and we can address them. And But to just go out and just do physical field reappraisal, basically go out and physically look at every house, it may be unnecessary, and it is very expensive.
Can I jump in and ask a few questions? When was our last state audit?
Last year, I believe, yep. And we got 100%.
Okay. And, well, what does that mean, the 100%? Do
Means
they
everything
check
that we're
to?
supposed to be doing is done and done well. They didn't do, the state doesn't do out physical field inspections anymore. They do it pretty much online too. In the past, they would go out and spot check a bunch of homes and just check to see that we had the database correct and our record cards were correct. They've done that in the past here and we've always passed.
So I guess my question is this: Are they now not auditing the accuracy of the record cards?
They don't do it by actual field inspections. They may look at Zillow and stuff like that. In the future, they're talking about going back and doing some auditing, but the state's running the same problem as everybody else for them to hire people to go out and physically look at houses. It's very expensive. This last audit, they looked at a lot of different things. They didn't go out and physically compare houses to what we have in our record card.
Okay.
They have in the past.
So they do, in that audit, it does make a determination as to the record card
Yes.
accuracy?
Yep.
Okay. I haven't seen it, so I wasn't sure. So I understand your opinion is that field visits aren't necessary. And you say are.
Well, we do.
You say-
We field visit every home that has a permit. And prior to COVID, we did a sample survey every year and went out and field visited some homes. And then we do the online and the GIS, we review homes. You know, you look at the GIS and you can see if there's anything added. We do that every year to make sure that the record cards are accurate.
Clarify about that, about permits, which permits then, and,
Any permit that was the physical change, like a deck, an addition.
well, from the numbers we
Garage.
were provided, I've got that 0 field inspections were done in 2023, and there was a brand-new house built.
Yeah, Max gave you, that's how many field inspections we did, non-permit, just go out and look at them. If you notice, right up to when COVID hit, all the field inspections back down. We actually look at about 150 permits a year. We had about 150 permits this year, and we looked at an average of, about 700 annually. We look at online and GIS reviews. But you actually get about 150 permits a year that we actually look at. Houses, additions, that wasn't on that was on a second email.
Well, why then back in 2017, when we do 1,099 field inspections above and beyond the permits, and now we're not doing anything?
Well-
We have like the same contract with you.
Well, COVID, no one wanted people out knocking on people's doors during COVID. Now we'll start ramping back up. That people are starting to get back to normal. If you'll notice in the COVID years is when, you know, you're not gonna go knock on someone's door and say, hey, I wanna take a look at your house and measure your house. It's sort of, everything backed off then. Starting to get back to normal now.
So all these field inspections, though, you went in the house too?
No, we never go in the house.
Oh, so then.
And we may
why
ask,
COVID then?
if someone answers the door, we may ask them, do you have 2 bathrooms and, you know, a finished basement? This is what we have in our record card, just to verify, but we don't go in houses. Not a good idea.
So I guess with this issue, I think just some questions were raised that I wasn't familiar with. I think I'm a little unclear on whether or not field inspections are required. I know that you're saying that that review or checking for accuracy doesn't necessarily just mean physical field inspections. There's these other mechanisms you can use. The information I had gotten or had been shared with me, that's information put out by the tax commission. They put some things out saying that there are physical field field inspections required. So I guess I'm unclear on whether or not it's required. If it's not required in this
State
in good
Tax
shape, I
Commission-
don't want to spend $100,000 to
Right.
to
The
do
State
that.
Tax Commission recommends, they don't require, because they know that's not possible in a lot of cases. In fact, I've got the bulletin.
The State Tax Commission, though, I reached out to them, and they said it's not appropriate to not do field work, though.
But we do field work. We look at every permit, we do GIS reviews, and we do sample reviews up to COVID, and we'll go out and do sample reviews, but the State Tax Commission recommends assessors inspect 20%. And if you talk to the State Tax Commission, to review a parcel, they're looking at everything, permit reviews, going out and looking at parcels randomly, GIS reviews, and going online to MLS reviews. That's all included in the review. They consider that a review.
But the recommendation's the 20%, not that you do field inspections at all. Like, they say, like, you can do 10% one year and 30% the next year, and that's fine, but not to not do field
Well,
inspections. so.
they didn't, during COVID, they recommended we don't go out and look at anything. And no one did, not that I'm aware of in the communities. Now that COVID's over, that's starting to ramp back up a little bit, where you can go out in the field, knock on someone's door, and you're gonna be okay doing that. But I would recommend that we do the survey by ECF neighborhoods, because I think we're gonna find that spending $100,000 is unnecessary.
So to back it up a little bit, was this something that specifically administration had added to this bid this year? Does administration think we need to do it, or are we looking at that?
Yeah, so it was specific language that was added into the bid specific to field visits. I was under the assumption, when I first came in, that the 20% was being done and was a requirement, but was clarified when we met with the assessor that it was a recommendation. And so we didn't really have a plan in place in reaching that 20%. So when we went back out to bid, we put a requirement to fulfill, as they weren't being done at the 20% level, and there's a requirement to have a plan to have field visits completed. The bid that we posted had a review of, I think it's 33%, to do basically a third of the visits over the course of 3 years through the length of the contract.
Okay. So I think for me at this point, the question is, because my understanding coming into the meeting today was also that it was required that they have physical field visits. I guess I'd like to get a really definitive answer, maybe in writing from the tax commission.
I've got the bulletin from the State Tax Commission, if you'd like to see it.
Is that from
2014?
2014?
Yeah, the State Tax Commission recommends that assessors inspect 20% of properties in their local unit annually.
I have that in front of me. I understand that. I understand it
Okay.
says 20% recommendation, but that's in order to be in compliance with 90% accuracy of the cards, like when you read through. So I understand the 20% is recommended, but
Yep.
I don't, it's unclear from that it's not, that they aren't required at all. Because they put out other documents, I think it's volume 3 of the manual or something like that, says they're required. So that's why I'm confused about it. I'm not saying I know it, I'm just saying I've read some things that seem to indicate it is. I want to clarify that before, because essentially if it's not required, then I don't want to spend the $100,000. If it is required, then I want to figure out
Right,
how
I
we
mean,
got
if
here.
we could go out and do and at no charge, we'll go out and do the survey of each neighborhood, and we'll know if there's an issue there. I don't believe there is. We've always passed the state audits. And if there's an issue, we'll correct it, but I don't think we're gonna run into that. And I don't think the 33% review in 3 years is necessary. I just think it's not necessary. I think your database is as good as anybody's. Everything's drawn, everything's in the system. It's really good. And trust me, I've seen a lot of bad databases.
Isn't the point, though, we don't know if it's good unless we go look at the property,
Well,
though, right? Because
When you look at 850 a year between the permits and the GIS and Zillow, you'll know if you need to make changes.
Well, but Zillow, yeah, I don't understand the Zillow and Realtor stuff, because if you look at my own property, for example, I looked at it, we've got an assessing picture from 2014 of my property, but if you go on Zillow, sure, you get street view from a year or two ago, but then on Realtor.com, it's all pictures from before I bought my house, which was multiple years before this 2014
Right.
assessing. So then you're looking at old photos.
We only look at homes that are listed or for sale or sold. That way we have current data, because they clean that stuff up when they list them. We have access to MLS, as well as we look at the Zillow and the other stuff, and we'll know if it's sold or listed, we'll know exactly what's in the house and if we need to make any changes. Typically, we don't. Usually it's an effective age change, because someone will buy it, they'll go in and clean it up, new kitchen, clean up the bathrooms, but they don't change, they don't add a bathroom typically. They just clean it up to either move in or to rent it. And in those scenarios, you can't raise their assessment for that, because that's just maintenance types items, but we may address the effective age, and you wouldn't see an increase in the taxable value unless the home's sold again.
So then, yeah, I guess some houses, if you've lived in Eastpointe your whole life, and you've gone 50 years without us doing anything on that property then, right?
Well, if you look prior to COVID, we did do quite a few inspections. Some of those years, we did 1,000 inspections.
Right, so why wouldn't we keep doing that each year? I guess
We will, we're just getting past the COVID thing. You didn't want to be going out knocking on people's doors during COVID.
Well, but this dropped off before COVID. I mean, you did
Well.
1,099 in 2017, and then 306 in 2018, and then 165 in 2019.
Yep.
I mean,
Plus,
didn't hit yet.
plus the Zillow and the reviews online, plus the actual permits, 150 permits. And we found that your database is in great shape. We're not finding big changes. We're not finding where someone added an addition that we're not aware of. It just doesn't happen here.
What would other communities do then? Other communities, what would their field inspections look like?
They typically do exactly the same thing we do. There are some that'll go out every year if they're having problems and hire staff and go out and field inspect a certain percentage, maybe not 20, but they'll go out and inspect a certain percentage every year if they're having issues. If their database isn't clean and there's a lot of things that aren't on their database, so they think they're going to pick up, it's going to be worthwhile financially to do it, they'll do it. And we have some communities that we've done that for. I don't believe this is one of those situations. I think you'll find if we do the survey and put it on a spreadsheet, there's not much out there. Everything's pretty good shape, real good shape.
I think for the purposes of, at least when I looked at this and reviewed it, because I'm thinking of it in terms of what could council do, or should council do anything related to this topic. So I have one question first to administration. I thought that the motion was a little bit vague with the information in front of us last time. I didn't know, I thought we were approving the assessing services. The 100% or the 100,000 was a separate, almost looked like a separate item. So did administration take that motion made at our last meeting to mean we were approving the assessing services and the 100,000 as well?
Yes, but we didn't take any action on it after we received the email from Councilmember DeMonico, and we're just going to wait to have a conversation to gain the same understanding amongst all members if there was confusion in the motion.
Okay, and so my next question is, at this point, does administration have a position on whether or not we need to or want to go forward with field inspections?
I'm fine with holding off. I would support doing the review just to see where our cards are, and then we can reach out to the State Tax Commission, get more information, provide that to City Council. And then at that point, we can kind of make a decision on how to move forward.
I mean, that makes sense to me, because I think reading the assessing rules is a lot of fun, but it can be kind of confusing. I've gotten some conflicting information. So I think it would make sense for us to give, administration direction to, hammer out whether we want that additional service, and go from there. Maybe have another discussion later down the line when you have more information.
Mr. Mayor, could then I propose at least a motion, like a more clear motion for now going forward then on this?
Oh, sure.
That'd be appropriate. Yeah, we'll adjust from last time. I'd motion that we hire assessment administration services for the year one total of $270,000, year two total of $275,400, and year three total of $280,908, and to not include the all field visits in 3 years of $100,000 per year. That'd be the motion.
All right, is there support?
Yeah, I'll support that, because it just seems like there's a lot of questions that haven't been answered tonight, and that still give the administration a chance. There wasn't even a recommendation from the administration on this item.
No, I agree, and I think, I don't think we have enough information to really make a decision or take action on that other part, if we need to do it at all. So, does anyone else on council have any other comments or questions? All right, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeMonico?
Yes.
Councilmember Curley.
Yes?
Mayor Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Councilmember Shadley?
Yes.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. And one note I'd like to make is what we could do is after we do our review of all the neighborhoods, maybe we can do a presentation to council and tell you what we found. And then in the future, we could probably have the assessor come in and do a report, or at least a written report every 3 months or every 6 months to just tell you where we're at and how things are going, if it's needed. I don't know that I personally don't think we're gonna find that.
I think I would just leave it to Ms. Walden to
Okay.
talk to you and figure that out. All right, we'll move on to the next item. Approved Department of Labor and Economic Opportunity Fire Turnout Gear Grant.
Mr. Mayor, I'm delighted that a grant of $73,500 was given to our fire department. So if some of you sit out there and don't think that they do work, but somebody had to write that grant. Somebody had to probably make several phone calls, says, hey, you know who you're talking to? This is Eastpointe. We need something here. So I'm delighted to make the move to approve the fire turnout gear grant from the Michigan Department of Labor and Economic Opportunities to further authorize the city manager to execute all necessary documents.
I'll second.
All right. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Curley.
Yes?
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Mayor Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Councilmember Shadley?
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico?
Yes.
All right, moving on to item D, discussion on the splash pad design. Would anyone like to open it up with a motion?
Before we head on, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I guess before we get to a motion, first of all, it's very exciting. I think a lot of people, I think as I've mentioned before, I think the thing I hear most about is the pool, so it's nice that we're doing a water feature, and of course, we got a lot of funding from the state for this. But to quickly get into the specific item, of course, I see that we've identified from the survey a theme and colors, and that we're doing LED lights. But I guess I had a couple quick things I just wanted to clarify, if we could, about this. And then maybe just, somewhat of a discussion, I guess, about how to move forward. I guess the couple quick questions would be, are we planning to use recycled water, like it gets treated and used again, or not do that, I guess is first question.
Yes.
Okay, cool, so.
Recycled water.
And then, so I asked this and maybe the couple next questions because I talked to someone at Rare, and so Roseville's going to have a splash pad also that'll use recycled water, and there's some maintenance then, and I think it'd be smart if we, kind of coordinate with them, because apparently if you do the recycled water, you need to know, about chemicals, and you gotta have some sort of training. I don't remember here what it's called, but that'll work out good then if we're doing that. And then the other thing is they were concerned, which I'm assuming this is a concern everywhere, and I don't know what the answer to this is, but we have a lot of geese at our parks now, of course, and kids, we want to try and keep them away. I don't know if you necessarily have an answer or how you possibly do that, but I guess at least we want to keep that in mind, I guess. If you do have an answer, feel free to
I don't. It's
jump
the
in.
first time I heard it, but I will make a note. Ryan, have you heard of it on your previous projects? Something we can look into? Okay.
It was brought to me, not something necessarily I thought of, but
Can we ask
makes
Darren
sense to
make
me.
a sign?
We can try that. That can certainly be one.
Do what?
No geese, yeah, we'll just circle with a line through it, and they won't come.
Yeah, well, we gotta protect them though.
And then the other question, and I think we did talk about this before, restrooms. We were adding restrooms on site there as opposed to requiring people to go across the park to use the current restrooms?
Yes. Yep, there will be a building there.
Okay, perfect. So I think that was all the specific questions, and then I guess just the more open-ended one, and I don't know if anyone else on council was going to mention, but from what I've, I guess this is like the assessing deep dive. I did need a slightly deep dive on splash pads, but you can have a lot of different things on a splash pad. I don't know how we want to go about picking different features and things like that, and how, because you can get a pretty basic splash pad, and it'll be less fun, of course, or you can get one with more features and more stuff and be more exciting for the kids. I don't know how we wanted to go about doing that sort of discussion. So just open-ended question, I guess, for council or city admin.
I can jump if you want. So we took a few meetings just to get a better understanding of the operation of splash pads, and it was certainly much more detailed than we had expected, and we definitely learned of the specifics in testing the water and the requirements that are going to have to go with it, and hearing like the different estimates or potential estimates. The great thing is that the funding that we receive from the state will end up turning out to be, what is it, Ryan, 1 million just on features?
Yeah, the splash pad itself, the estimate that we had was just over $1 million. That's the splash pad, the equipment, the controls and everything for the splash pad itself was just over $1 million of the $2.4 million project.
So that will lend, and we, especially when talking to the vendors, to a lot of creativity when it comes to creating the additional features, whether those are buckets, different things that spray. So I think it will turn out to be a great addition, but also with several features that you guys would be able to add on. The one thing that we were asked in every single one of the meetings was for an idea of a theme or different colors that the city was interested in so that they knew what to design. So a lot of, and I forget the type of material that they utilize, they can basically create just about anything. And so if they have a theme and colors that you guys are interested in operating with, they can kind of all fall in line with a similar design or different features, and then those proposals can come back so you see those designs and the different things. Some of the vendors also created different structures to the splash pad, and so they had sections per age, and so like there's a smaller section with features appropriate to, a 0 to 2 year old, and basically larger, and that's why in the survey that was submitted, we kind of got feedback from the community on ages, just so that we knew kind of, the children that would be attending and kind of how to build those out. And so they have the potential of kind of separating children based on age, appropriate features, stuff like that. So just getting the theme, the colors will help them submit a design with the additional features and designs to that, if that answers your question.
Yeah, I guess what I'm thinking now after everything you just said, I guess maybe just another survey with, if we can, some pictures were included, I guess pictures of different, like the water bucket, like you're saying, I think everybody knows like that one, but there's a bunch of, I'm sure, other stuff I've never heard of. You know, if we can do a survey with pictures and try to get people to vote, maybe then the community can pick their own stuff. You know, the kids know what they like, I guess. I don't think we do up at the table here. So, yeah, that's all.
Thank you for bringing that up, because that's basically what I was going to say. We had 232 response so far, and going back out is a good idea, but I'm at the belief that if we're going to ask 232 people for their opinion, and to go back out and we get 400, then this council should not make a decision of what we want. All thoughts about what we want should be eliminated right now, because we ask the citizens for their opinion. And if we ignore that, people are going to say, well, typical. They asked for our opinion, and they pretty much told us to go fly a kite. And are there hours? Have you settled on that yet?
No, we haven't gotten into
Okay,
the
all right.
operation of it.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, if I may,
Sure.
the idea would be if council can decide on a theme and/or colors, that perhaps we could do an RFQ or RFP for proposals, right? That then,
Yeah, that's basically the idea. The first step obviously was to choose a theme and the colors so that the vendors would have a better idea of what features could be selected, and then we would be able to have some samples, different samples and ideas of different layouts and different features that could be incorporated in that. So I think we can definitely provide that fairly quickly now that once the theme and the color is selected, we can have that over to you fairly quickly to review.
Mayor? Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to ask Councilmember DeMonico's suggestion. Is there a way to build into the bid that there's like a community engagement section once their design is submitted, so that we can share those designs to the community and get a feedback on what they develop?
I don't see why not.
How do we know what the like amount will be without knowing like the various features, I guess, was my question too about that. Like, are we gonna have like, is it gonna be a lengthy like many column thing where it's like, you know, buckets 10 grand, this is that much?
I know we talked to the vendors a few weeks ago. A couple of them already had some ideas of what the cost would be on the features. So yeah, with the features that they would provide us, for examples, they would have an estimated cost per feature. So we would have an idea based upon the budget, how many features and what type of features we could have within the budget. We have a pretty large budget to work with.
Okay, so that will be pretty flexible. Okay.
Yeah.
That answers that question.
I just want to throw in there, if at all possible, not to forget our parks commissioners. They put a lot of love, time, and effort into the park, so if there's a way that we can utilize their thoughts and ideas, I would encourage that. So, you know, because that's what they do, that's their focus.
Actually, I did have one more question about, Councilman Curley made me think of it, about the hours question. We were planning on it also being public, right? Not any sort of like fence and you need to
Correct.
show your ID to get in.
I think it
sort of
has
thing.
to be with the grant
Okay.
that we got for it.
Well, good, because that's
Yeah.
what I was
Yeah.
going to suggest anyway. Not a fan of the opposite, so. Okay.
Well, would anyone like to make a motion?
Sure, Mr. Mayor, I'll motion that as Councilman Curley suggested, I'm going to motion exactly what the community asked for here, to identify plant life as the splash pad theme and utilize citrus colors and LED lights within the design.
A second.
All right. Please call the roll.
Councilmember DeMonico,
Yes.
Councilmember Baker,
Yes.
Councilmember Shadlick,
Yes.
Councilmember Curley,
Yes.
Mayor Kleinfeld.
Yes. Moving on to item F, approve reappointments to the Eastpointe Housing Commission. Would anyone like to make a motion?
Yes, I will move that we approve the reappointment of Walter Jakubiak and John, I hope I'm saying this right, Karras, to the Eastpointe Housing Commission for terms to expire on October 1st, 2029.
Absolutely support.
I was going to ask if, can we vote on them separately potentially, or be open to amending your motion to do that?
You know, I'm fine either way, I guess. I'm still gonna support both of them, so I don't have a problem amending. I would move first that we appoint Walter Jakubiak, or reappoint, I'm sorry, Walter Jakubiak to the Housing Commission for a term to expire October 1st, 2029.
Support.
All right, please call the roll.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes?
Councilmember Curley.
Yeah.
Councilmember DeMonico?
No.
Mayor Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Councilmember Shadlick?
Yes.
All right, Councilman Baker, would you like to make another motion?
Yes, I would. I would move that we also reappoint John, again, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, Karras, to the Eastpointe Housing Commission for a term to expire October 1st, 2029.
Support.
Please call the roll.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Curley.
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico?
Yes.
Mayor Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Councilmember Shadlick?
Yes.
All right, payrolls and bills. Would anyone like to make a motion?
Yes, I move that we would pay the bills in the amount of $3,075,007.47.
Is there support?
I'll second that.
Is there any questions for Randy on the bills? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico?
Yes.
Mayor Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Councilmember Shadlick?
Yes.
Councilmember Curley.
Yes.
All right, and we'll move on to the second hearing of the public. The second hearing of the public is now open. Would anyone like to be heard?
Hi, Cindy Federle again. As far as the geese in the park, I used to work at a clinic that had that problem, and walking into the building was like walking through a minefield with all the droppings. They put out rubber stakes with signs for people to know that the stakes are not real, and that got rid of the geese. Just a thought.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Mr. Zander. I am the ambassador for this Eastpointe High School, and I'd like to, what we did during the sports activities going on, we have a bad scores this year. If you want to listen to this, Dearborn has 59, Eastpointe 0, Clintondale 62, Eastpointe 0, South Lake has 56, and Eastpointe has 0, and I do not like it at all. In the next game, if you want to come out and watch the games, the 20th is going to be home. Friday, I think Friday, will be Eastpointe against St. Clair at 7 p.m. here at Eastpointe at the Memorial Field. And then the last one will be homecoming will be on the 12th at 1 p.m. at the Memorial Field at 1 p.m. So if you want to come, please do so. We'd like to have you come, and we got to get some more points. So if we do, we'd like to have you come and join us. So like I said, we got to get this going, and we just have to do as much as we can do. So please come on out and join the fun. Enjoy the rest of the evening. Thank you so much, and God bless you all.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to be heard?
Good evening, council and administration. This is the reason why I come to these meetings, to get more or less firsthand information And my concern tonight is in regard to the assessment, the home assessment. I guess I just need a better clarity and understanding and questions. Is this also entwined and involved in the same as we receive home assessment, home tax assessments every year? Because I've had to dispute those, some of those that I have received from year to year. And praise y'all, I availed because there was incorrect information. So that's my concern. And what have you, as I was listening to the gentleman go through his details and how it's, the procedures are done and what he was involved in. The other thing is in regard to the splash pad and what have you, to know if there is a fee that will be attached to this for interest, for entering rather, because just from the initial startup of getting it started, it seems very expensive. And then to go from there, once that's completed, the maintenance that's going to be required on it, and the things of that sort that comes along with upkeep of anything that you have, other than just and then tagging it onto the taxpayers. Taxes, in my concern, is high enough from the area that I live in and what have you, and so I'm very interested in that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to be heard?
So let's keep in mind, if anyone feels that the geese are a problem because of human behavior, the wildlife is losing more and more of its natural habitat. The humans are crowding out the animals. We're not the only species on this earth, we just act like it. So we need to learn how to live in harmony with wildlife. And we need to stop encroaching on their natural environment. That said, I'm going to shift back to what I was talking about towards the end of my first public comment periods. And that is the city needs to do better by the residents. I've talked to other residents throughout the city that have just horrible neighbors, and there's no reason for this. You know, if you don't like your neighbor, leave them alone. It's just that simple. If a homeowner tells, whether it's a child or the parent, I don't want the kids on my property, a reasonable and responsible parent would tell the child, the neighbor doesn't want you on the property, stay off the property, period. It's just that simple. But on my block, we have 4 families of renters who do nothing to teach their children discipline, respect, or boundaries. They treat the entire block like it's their own public playground. Now, if other homeowners don't care, well, good luck, you know, because if the child falls and injures themselves on your property, you're liable. I've done everything I can to reduce that liability. And if parents don't want me telling their kids, stay off my property, teach your children boundaries, teach them discipline, teach them respect. Tell the children, stay off our property. Chief Haynes, I'm asking if you could have the neighborhood watch officers come out, speak to all those families, and make it crystal clear to them, Stay off my property. Stop harassing me when I'm walking down the street. Stop swearing at me. Stop yelling at me. Stop doing that from the sidewalk, screaming at me while I'm in my house trying to work. This is harassment. It needs to stop. And now there's malicious destruction of property that's been
Your time.
caused on my house. It has to stop.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to be heard? Anyone else? Seeing none, the second hearing of the public is closed. We'll move on to mayor and council reports. We'll start with Councilwoman Pashadlik.
I'd like to extend my condolences to the cyclist, Danny, who had passed away over here on 9 Mile. It's a reminder to all of us that we really do need to watch out for pedestrians and people who are on bicycles, scooters, whatnot, children, to be very aware of our surroundings and to slow down. It's a shame. So my extreme condolences to his family. And that's all I have today.
All right, Councilman Curley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, council, for putting up with me. I'm going to go home and go straight to bed. The family that was sitting there, you know, I was going to say something. I'm sorry they left so soon. I don't know why they were here. I don't know who they are, but the two younger kids on the end there were taking notes the entire meeting. Now, I don't know if they were doing their homework for school or writing notes about us, but the fact is, and you know, we got to realize that is, to me, that is remarkable that the family would come to our meeting and listen to us and listen to the hearing of the public. And gosh darn it, maybe they'll be back the next meeting. I hope so. That's it, Mr. Mayor.
All right, Councilman Baker.
Thank you. Yes, I was going to say, just in regards to the event, September 6th, or First Amendment event, I did receive an email from someone named Isabel, I don't know if it's Brito or Brito, and I did respond and told her that I would be unavailable to make it. So I don't want it to seem like no one said anything, no one was notified of it. You know, I can't make it to everything in the city. As much as I'm present and have been present over the years, even before my years on council, things that I was doing, I can't be everywhere. I do have some personal family matters that I'm tending to currently. So as much as I try to support things in the city, there are some things where I can't be at. And then sometimes just I take a break because I do have to rest my body too. I work, I'm a single dad, I've been one for quite a while. I got a lot of things that I take care of on just outside of here and away from this council table. So I can't be everywhere, but I did respond back to the email and told Ms. Brito that I couldn't make it. So I just wanted to address that so you guys would know. Also, we had our MML convention this past week. A lot of information, a lot of breakout sessions, networking with a lot of people from across the state. They had breakout sessions talking about AI. There was one talking about how to reduce stress in your work area. But a byproduct of that was also being able to better communicate with people, whether it be residents, other members of council, whoever, anybody that you speak with. Keep your stress level down, you keep yourself cool and calm, and it makes you a better communicator. It's easier to have those dialogues with people. So I just thought that it was a very good time. And it's also good to hear about what other people have going on in their city. They had a vendor networking event, and so even talking with some of the vendors, learning about certain services that they provide. So if we have ideas of how to of things that we would like to try to implement, we learn of places where we can start or people with whom we can have conversation to learn how to potentially implement some changes and some improvements just for our city. So, I'll leave it there.
All right, thank you. Councilman DeMonico.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I should have hit up Councilman Baker, that stress one. I didn't end up hitting that breakout. But yeah, I guess in terms of the MML conference, since we're talking about that, there's a wastewater treatment plant on the island there, and they're actually, it's like a historical one, and they're building a brand new one. So they did a whole tour of it. Doesn't sound exciting to do a tour of a wastewater treatment plant, but I had not seen one before, and that was pretty interesting. Especially interesting because I went to the wrong part of the island and then had to take a bike over to get to it, so I got a workout also. Going up, it's like at the highest level of the island too, which is strange. They got to pump the sewage up to there. Usually, you know, we let it go downhill, but apparently not on Mackinac Island. Yeah, we heard a little history of the Michigan Municipal League, which is a group that does all this training and these conferences for us, and they're 125 years old, so it was interesting to hear some things and see a couple really old pictures of what it used to be like, and they talked about the 4 elected officials that got together to start it way back in 1899, so that was interesting. We saw the Community Excellence Awards, which I posted about on Facebook, and there were 4 finalists from Brighton, Granville, Houghton, and Oak Park. The winning city ended up being Houghton. So if you're up for an adventure, take a 10-hour drive, maybe 12. You know, you're not going to be driving straight either. You're going to take a break or two. Head up to Houghton and check it out. They did a lot of fantastic updates there. Got rid of a giant parking structure that was kind of blocking the water from downtown. So now it's kind of a little more open and interesting, but you can also check out all 4 of those projects online. So I'd recommend checking those out. Maybe we can, steal some ideas for Eastpointe. They also had the executive director of what's called the National League of Cities out, and they're 100 years old. So he was doing a whole bus tour throughout the United States, and then he stopped at this conference and kind of talked about what they do then at the congressional level, where they try to get things for cities, kind of like a lot of cities got a lot of money when COVID hit, and the CARES Act and ARPA, and talked about some of that. So that was interesting. And like Councilman Baker said, I was at the AI session. That was pretty interesting. I don't think too relevant yet for cities. I think we'll stick to the technology we have, but it was interesting to kind of see what they're doing. I thought maybe the most interesting one, they brought up flooding, where they'll try to use AI to predict if flooding is imminent or not, I guess, somewhere else in the United States. Hopefully we don't have to worry about that here. Went to a small business session too, which was interesting. Actually, Eastpointe was highlighted on that one in the deck because McKenna was running that session, so that was neat to see that. And then I moderated a session that was called Anatomy of an Election and just talked about a lot of different things regarding an election. I'd highly recommend, if you think it's just a couple devices, just count up votes. There's way more to it than that. So please, if you're wondering, especially in Michigan with how decentralized it is super secure and hard to, mess with the election. The election is going to be accurate. And I'm sure, though, as some saw, and this was brought up in that session, there were 4 people that did vote twice in St. Clair Shores, and we kind of talked about how that happened. It was flagged, but the election workers there, from what so far the investigation I saw and read, is that they let them vote, but it's caught immediately. The county prosecutor did, talk to these people and see kind of what was going on. But if there is anything like that, it's caught quickly, and that sort of thing. There's, a lot of checks and balances for an election, I guess, long story short. So yeah, and as was mentioned earlier, it is Constitution Day, our anniversary of the ratification of our U.S. Constitution. So maybe since it's a presidential election year, maybe read the part on the Electoral College, get up to speed on that before November 5th hits. And then on Veterans Day, we will be doing the same group that does a Memorial Day parade. We'll be doing an event on Memorial Day 6:30 PM at the Military Museum, so save that date right now. We don't really have too many more details than that. And then also condolences to the family of Danny, the man who was riding his bicycle on 9 Mile. Yeah, just keep him in your thoughts. That's all, Mr. Mayor.
Hey, thank you. First thing I'm going to mention is on September 24th, the date's set, right? Yes. September 24th, 2024, 6 PM at the East Campus at the Macomb Community College. We're going to have a fire truck donation event with our fire department there. As everyone knows, we got a new ladder truck, and so we were giving what we don't need to another organization. So if you can make it out, that would be good. The MML conference was, I think it was really beneficial for all of us. I'm kind of proud of our city and our council, because I would doubt there's another city where the entire council wins. And when we go, we try to break up the different sessions and things like that, get the education and bring it back and share it with everyone else. So I really liked some of the information we got on like placemaking from other communities. I've already mentioned Ms. Walton. I think I want to get recordings of that, maybe share some of that information with our staffers. We always have interesting legislative updates. The MMLs are a really worthwhile organization for us to be a part of. One of the things that they do, which people might not know, and part of the reason we go to these conventions and get involved, is they advocate for cities with state bills. And they're very strong in advocating for, one, to get more dollars to us for things we need, like roads. And then also, when bills come up that want to take away local control, they're up in Lansing fighting for us. So that was a really great experience, and I don't have anything else. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to go into closed session.
Mr. Mayor, I'll motion we go into closed session for attorney-client privilege regarding recreational marijuana pursuant to MCL 15.2681H.
Support.
Please call the roll.
Councilmember DeMonico?
Yes.
Councilmember Shadlick?
Yes.
Mayor Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Curley.
Yes.
Go into closed session at 8:27.
So moved.
All right, back in session, open session at 9:09.
So moved.
Motion to adjourn.
And I'll second that motion to adjourn.
All right, please call the roll.
Councilmember Curley,
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico,
Yes.
Councilmember Shadlick,
Yes.
Councilmember Baker, Mayor
Yes.
Kleinfeld.
Yes, adjourned at 9:09.